Shalom, family. It's your friendly neighborhood teacher, Elijah. I'm a healthy, wise, strong, protected, celestial being that is loved by the Most High Creator. Family, I got some video clips to show you real quick, and I got some slides to go through. Let me think, make sure I don't forget nothing. And I guess not, but please take the time, sit here and listen to me. We're going to talk about Antarctica today. We're going to talk about the aliens and what I feel like my spirit has told me concerning the situation. Actually, before I start, I want to tell y'all something. So I had a dream a few nights ago, and I'm only telling you this dream because most of the time I don't remember my dreams. This particular day, I had this dream. I woke up, I forgot it, and then I went to the store to take care of some business. Maybe this is like last Friday, I think. And as I'm at the store, the spirit reminded me of the dream. It was very vivid. But in the dream, it was nighttime somewhere. But you know how in the wintertime we got daylight saving times. So like where I'm at, it be getting dark around like 4 or 5 now. 6. So imagine it's around that time. Because I was working, I was doing some type of work, working some job. And there was people all around, but it was dark outside. So I know it was it was a regular business day. It wasn't like late at night where nobody around, but there was people around. And anyway, something caught my attention in the sky, and I look up, and there's, like I said, it's nighttime with cloud cover, but there was this hole in the clouds. And what caught my eye is I kept seeing, it's like I think I kept seeing lights. And when I looked up, I saw all these little small figures in the clouds and this little opening just moving around. And other people were seeing it too, because I heard some voices, but mostly it was just me. Or actually, I think it might have just been me. People just go about their business, and nobody else noticed it but me. But when I looked in, at first I'm like, what am I looking at? I'm like, is that stuff moving in the clouds just in strange patterns, like up and down, left to right? Just a bunch of little figures moving in the clouds. So I started to focus more on what I was looking at. And as I focused more on it, this ship just, I guess you could say the best way, it decloaked. Like it was invisible, but then it uncloaked and now it was just visible. This big ship. I can't really describe how it looked. I just imagine an alien ship. Not like the usual, how it looks like a circular craft and it be spinning like a spin top. It was a different design, like something I never seen online before, but it was a legit ship. And it appeared for a moment, and then I remember after it appeared, there was like this bright neon beam type light that appeared like it was shooting down towards the earth. And then the ship disappeared, like it recloaked. And I was like, and I stopped and I look around and I'm like telling people, hey, did y'all see that? Did y'all see that ship in the sky? Did y'all just see what I saw? Like, yo, what is that, an alien ship? And then I woke up. And then, like I said, I forgot about the dream and I went to the store and the spirit reminded me of it. So, once again, just to re-verify, I had a dream, looking up at the sky, saw things flying around. All of a sudden, the ship decloaked. The ship was there for a second, disappeared. Then this bright neon purple light appeared like it was shooting like a beam down to the ground. Imagine like the movie Independence Day. Remember when that ship, the first movie Independence Day, and remember when the ship was hovering over the White House or New York or LA, and then the beam came out of it and shot down to the ground and it caused a big explosion? It kind of looked like that. But there was no explosion. It was just that same light doing the same thing. It's just it was purple. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and jump into these video clips that I was telling y'all that I'm about to show you guys. And just, bear with me, family. I got a story, or I got some thoughts on it. But let's go ahead and hop in. Give me a second. Let me turn it down because I want y'all to be able to hear it.
There are rumors that have come up to the Hill of a secretive project within the Department of Defense involving the manipulation of human genetics with what is described as non-human genetic material, potentially for the enhancement of human capabilities, hybrids. Are any of you familiar with that? Yes or no?
Let me restart this very quick.
There are rumors that have come up to the Hill of a secretive project within the Department of Defense involving the manipulation of human genetics with what is described as non-human genetic material, potentially for the enhancement of human capabilities, hybrids. Are any of you familiar with that? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
I am not, ma'am.
I'm not.
No, ma'am.
Okay, I would like to know, with Immaculate Constellation, how does this relate to UAP activities, Mr. Schellenberg, in oceanic environments? Are there any instances where the Navy or other maritime forces have encountered UAPs that could not be explained by known technology or natural phenomena?
Yeah, the Immaculate Constellation covers both terrestrial and oceanic, and there's actually a number of cases described in the report that occur in the ocean.
And do you believe that there is a concerted effort by the Pentagon to keep Congress out of the loop regarding these UAP activities, specifically in our waters?
Yes.
I think it's about 5% of our ocean that's actually been studied in detail by man, and we've studied more of space than we had of our own oceans. And so are there any accounts of UAPs emerging from or submerging into our water which could indicate a base or presence beneath the ocean's surface?
I don't know about a base, but as I mentioned, I had a different source entirely describe this pretty extraordinary footage that exists of orbs, of an orb coming out of the ocean and being met by another orb.
Some would say that there's multiple hotspots where we see frequent activity. So in your investigations, have you come across any data or visual evidence like sonar readings or underwater footage of these UAPs?
I have not beyond what's in the report.
You've written about UAPs not only in the air but in underwater. Are there any specifics on what you've learned about the UAP activity in our oceans? Particularly, have you spoken with sources who have provided any evidence or eyewitness accounts of these UAPs interacting with our naval forces or being detected by our underwater surveillance systems?
Nothing beyond what's in the report and in the specific case that I mentioned with the orb.
And so this report says it all. There's no other information that we are aware of regarding the activity within our waters.
I have other sources that have told me that have shared a significant amount of information, but they're not comfortable with me sharing it at this point.
Okay. Are there any technological capabilities observed in these oceanic UAPs that seem to defy our current understanding of physics or our engineering capabilities?
It seems like they all do.
Yes, I would agree with that. My time is up, but I do appreciate your bravery, your courage for coming here and speaking today. And it seems like there's still some questions that we need answers to, and we will not relent until we get those to the American people. Thank you all.
Since the early 1900s, professional sailors and Navy men have seen lights in the water, and in some cases, craft emerge from the ocean. AUTEC is the Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center. This is a highly secret Navy facility located within the Bermuda Triangle. It opened in 1967, and it's in a remote location in the Bahamas near very deep water. At AUTEC, the Navy tests all kinds of equipment, including advanced weapons. It's been called the Navy's Area 51. Former employees of AUTEC Base have reported mile-wide craft silently emerging from the sea. They create no sound. They make no waves or splash when going in or out of the water.
31 knots.
Oh, just real quick, family. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Just in case, just in case.
What was splashed? Mark bearing range.
The USOs are strange enough, but the fact that they don't disturb the water is mind-boggling. No scientist has come up with an explanation for this. One researcher said that there's a force field around the craft that's a vacuum, which is why there's no wind or water resistance.
In front of the machine, they open vacuum space. This is why they need this tunnel. This is why they are never wet.
Now, I don't think that works. A vacuum flying through the clouds or into water would still disrupt it. The only thing that makes sense to me, which makes no sense at all, is that UAPs are somehow interdimensional.
I don't know what that is. That is some weird
So they exist in our universe, but they can pass through solid objects, as if their physical matter is out of phase with ours. But we do, allegedly, have recovered craft. These are objects we can touch. So maybe this phase shift only happens when the engines are running. Or maybe anti-gravity technology makes a craft impervious to air and water friction. I really don't know. But there are more and more videos out there of UFOs shooting into and out of the water without disturbing a drop. This is clearly an important piece of their technology.
If what we are witnessing is a true trans-medium vehicle, a vehicle that can penetrate that barrier between air and sea or air and space without destruction, then we're looking at a propulsion system that is so far advanced, it's beyond next generation technology. So we're probably looking at, and what it is theorized is we're looking at, is a gravitational propulsion system, a non-reactionary propulsion system.
In the late 1980s, Gulf Breeze, Florida, not far from the secret Navy facility, made global headlines. Local resident Ed Walters photographed a glowing acorn-shaped craft hovering above his neighborhood. His images triggered a wave of UFO sightings in the area, with hundreds of witnesses reporting similar encounters. Skeptics accused Walters of hoaxing the photos via double exposure, but analysis showed no sign of manipulation, only an ominous, unidentified object. Walters' photos are still some of the most compelling I've ever seen.
Thing is real. It can't be no balloon. No balloon, man. No balloon. That is real. That's a real thing, dude. It's the real thing. Where the hell did it go? Gone, man. Gone.
The Earth is covered by so much water, and so much of it is unexplored, that it seems obvious that aliens, or whoever is controlling these craft, would use the ocean as a way to stay hidden. In fact, there's a researcher who says there's a whole network of tunnels running under the ocean floor. These tunnels connect to large alien bases, and the locations of those bases are not going to surprise you. Cuban ufologist Maximilian de Lafayette is a leading proponent of the undersea alien tunnels theory. He gets his information from sources in the military and NASA. He claims there's a vast network of tunnels beneath the seabed. UAPs use these to move quickly from one part of the Earth to the other. Within this tunnel network are hubs which contain large bases, 12 bases to be exact, and they're all over the world: South America, Russia, Japan, and there are bases in places you'd expect. Like several in the Bermuda Triangle, there's a base in the Baltic Sea. Near the aluminum falcon! Yes, there. And there's a major base in Alaska. Mount Hayes. Yes, under Mount Hayes. Remember we covered Joseph McMoneagle in the episode about Project 8200? That was the secret CIA program that used psychic spies to remote view locations around the world. Joe and other psychics saw alien bases in Mount Hayes and other mountains. They also saw a lot of alien activity underwater. Joe specifically said that USOs were very busy around the U.S. Navy's base in the Bahamas.
I've remote viewed for every major intelligence agency in America. I did see some USOs that were operating within the vicinity of.
All right, next video.
Someone called the cops on these lights. See, even the police They're going crazy.
Aliens are attacking.
Rent a furnished private room with
Oh my god, now cars they're starting to notice. Here comes another. Oh, fire truck.
There has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, not to be very careful here, because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed, myself and my wife, was very disturbing.
Yo, what is this, bro? What is this? Yo, that's like what is that, bro?
Okay, family, look. I don't believe in this video right here. This is most likely AI, but this just happened to be the clip that I downloaded. So if it looks fake, family, ignore it. I want y'all really just to get the information. I need y'all to see the information we're talking about. Next video.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. For many years, I was entrusted with protecting some of our nation's most sensitive programs. In my last position, I managed a special access program on behalf of the White House and the National Security Council. As such, I appreciate the need to protect certain sensitive intelligence and military information. I consider my oath to protect secrets as sacred, and I will always put the safety of the American people first. With that said, I also understand the consequences of excessive secrecy and stovepiping. Nowhere was this more apparent than in the aftermath of 9/11, which many of us remember all too well. I believe that America's greatness depends on three elements. A watchful Congress, B, a responsive executive branch, and C, an informed public. Over the last decade and a half, I learned that certain UAP programs were and are operating without any of these elements. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. A small cadre within our own government involved in the UAP topic has created a culture of suppression and intimidation that I've personally been victim to, along with many of my former colleagues. This includes unwarranted criminal investigations, harassment, and efforts to destroy one's credibility. Most Americans would be shocked to learn that the Pentagon's very own Public Affairs Office openly employs a professional psychological operations officer as the singular point of contact for any UAP-related inquiries from citizens and the media. This is unacceptable. Many of my former colleagues and I have provided classified testimony to both the Department of Defense and the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and many of us have subsequently been targeted by this cabal with threats to our careers, our security clearances, and even our lives. This is not hyperbole, but a genuine fact, and this is wrong. To fix these problems, I propose three principal actions. First, Congress and the President should create a single point of contact responsible for a whole-of-government approach to the UAP issue. Currently, the White House, CIA, NASA, the Pentagon, Department of Energy, and others play a role, but no one seems to be in charge, leading to unchecked power and corruption. Second, we need a national UAP strategy that will promote transparency and help restore the American public's trust at a time when the public's trust is at an all-time low. This strategy should include a whole-of-government approach, including the academic and scientific communities, the private sector, and our international partners and allies. Third, Congress should create a protected environment so whistleblowers desperate to do the right thing can come forward without fear. As it currently stands, these whistleblowers suffer because of stigma, a code of silence, and concerns about retaliation. These whistleblowers should be encouraged to come forward in ways that protect them against any forms of retaliation. Policies and procedures should ensure that protection, and for those who refuse to cooperate, it is up to the members of this committee and the other lawmakers to wield their subpoena power against hostile witnesses and prevent additional government funding to those UAP efforts that remain hidden from congressional oversight. In closing, we as Americans have never been afraid of a challenge. In fact, we thrive on them, whether it's eradicating polio or going to the moon. We don't run from a challenge, we take it head on. To the incoming administration and Congress, I say to you, we need immediate public transparency, and this hearing is an important step on that journey. If we approach the UAP topic in the same way as we as Americans have met other challenges, we can restore our faith in our government institutions. Together, we can usher in a new era of accountable government and scientific discovery. I believe that we as Americans can handle the truth, and I also believe the world deserves the truth. Thank you, esteemed members of Congress, for your time today. It is profoundly appreciated by many.
All right, next video.
I think it's incredibly important to listen to the specific words that Grush uses. You know, Grush never said extraterrestrial or alien, he said interdimensional. I think that that's incredibly important because those are the types of things that when we go in there, there's just certain things that I think that it's important that you guys listen to.
I'm going to get clarification.
Yes,
you said interdimensional. I mean, now, what does that term, is this something that bends time and space? What are you getting at?
I think that Grush, when I had talked to him on whether these were specifically extraterrestrials or alien in origin, he said interdimensional. He refused to use certain terms, and I think that's incredibly important because I think that that's really the question we're all wanting to know, right? And so I'm actually going to have a sit-down conversation with him and ask him to come back and talk to us directly because it seems that we are getting more information from the source than going into a skiff and then not being able to tell you guys what.
Is this stuff that we just as humans might not be able to understand if it's interdimensional?
I think that we can understand it. I think that it's just, it's an approach, right? I mean, like, remember, we just now for the first time in history really had Congress have whistleblowers come forth credible that we're telling the entire world that there is something other than human life forms. Rush said that those were interdimensional beings. He refused to use extraterrestrial and aliens. I think that's important to note. But
Fair use.
Testified to say that some of these were interdimensional beings. Can you speak on that at all?
Ma'am, I'm not qualified, certainly as a scientist or otherwise, to speculate points of origin. I looked at everything from a scientific perspective. So if you look at, for example, instantaneous acceleration, which was one of the observables of the program that I belong to, ATIP, the human body can withstand about 9 G-forces for a short period of time before you suffer negative biological consequences, blackouts and ultimately redouts and even death. Comparison, our best technology, the F-16, which is it's an older platform, but one of our most highly maneuverable aircraft, manned aircraft, made by General Dynamics, can perform about 17 or 18 G-forces before you start having structural failure, meaning that the airframe begins to disintegrate while you're flying. The vehicles we're talking about are performing in excess of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 Gs.
So are you... And then in 2018 was when I had the very intense Mojave Mountain experience where I went into a base and met directly with the ETs.
How were you approached to go into the secret base?
I was sitting in a coffee shop with a friend of mine, and we were having coffee. It was early in the morning, and a couple walked into the shop. And we were sitting in like a large sitting area for a group, which isn't unusual in California. And they just came and sat down and started a conversation with us, and we all hit it off. And we began talking about our mutual chronic illnesses, and because he had his own health issues that he was dealing with. And he said some really interesting things to me. He talked about the body burden of emotional stress and trauma, and it was something that resonated with me from something that the beings had said. And I thought, well, this is very interesting, and I don't remember exactly how it evolved, but he eventually he just came right out and said, what do you think about aliens? And I said, I love them. And he said, well, would you like to meet some? And I couldn't believe it. I said, yes, of course I would. And he told me a story of how he had been seeing craft above his mountain for some time. And so he climbed up to the top of the mountain, and that a craft landed. Beings came out of the craft and talked to him, and told him that they were located in a base within their mountain, okay? And that they had been there all along, that there wasn't going to be any problem, don't worry, and for him to go home. Well, he's told me that he went home, and he became absolutely obsessed with getting inside of that mountain. And he happens to be a construction company owner, and he does excavations. He excavates mountains. He did not want to do this publicly, okay? So he built a wooden structure, and he threw some military netting over it so nobody could see what he was doing. And he said he excavated, he went into this mountain, that he just slowly went at it, and next thing you know...
There wasn't a way he could talk to the extraterrestrials to ask permission to go in, or he just kind of...
Oh, I think that they were telling him.
Okay.
Okay. His obsession, that sounds to me like they were encouraging him to do this. And perhaps it was to bring me there. I can't assume that it was just for me. Right. So he said that he went in, that he found the base. There they were inside the mountain. And he said that he could take me to meet them.
Well, give us a visual walkthrough of, arriving there and everything you've seen and how that unfolded, the conversation, and the description of, what you were experiencing at that moment.
All right, next video. Fair use.
Oh, what kind of gun do you need us to take? He said, an M16. And I said, why would we want to take an M16 down there? He said, you'll find out when you get there. I said, you can't give us any more information than that? He said, I don't know. I really don't know. And I felt that he was sincere there, that he didn't know. I said, well, who would we talk to? So he said, well, the chief of security police. So I went to the chief of security police, who was at the time a major, and I asked the major, I said, we want to go down to Urania. He said, I need to send some troops down there with you. I said, why? What's going on down there? He said, we really don't know. I said, you want to tell me in straight words what you're talking about? He said, he looked around the room. He said, let's go into the other room. So we went in the back room. It was like a supply room. He sat down, and he looked down on the floor, and he kind of looked around. He said, there's aliens living in that mountain. I said, extraterrestrial aliens. Yep. I said, that's why the mountain opens. Shakes his head. I said, so what are we going to find when we go down there? He said, we only went down there once, and we never went back. So I said, you went down there, you climbed the mountain? He said, no. There's a tunnel. The old uranium mine is there, and there's a tunnel that leads the old mine shaft. We had built that, the test site built that for a testing area. They were going to test lasers in it. And when they got a certain point into the mountain, about a mile in, they realized there were visitors there. And this is what he's telling us. So we got out of there. So I said, the United States Air Force, the United States Army is pulling out of a place that you saying? Did you actually see him? He said, no, I never saw him. So I said, I'm going to go down there. So I got a couple agents, and there was a security detail of 12 to 15 of them, I believe, security police. And they were armed. I didn't take an M16. We didn't take it. We had them, but and I was trained in them, but I didn't take them. I had my handgun.
Plus you had the whole crew.
Yeah, plus those guys are going to protect us. We said, oh, we went down there, we walked in. I mean, we went in, and they had erected a huge vault door because of what they found inside. And there was combination locks and so forth, and it took some time for it to get the big vault door open. And the security guys go, there it is. I said, well, you guys going in with us? And they kind of looked at each other. It was a lieutenant that was a leader of them. If you insist. I said, have you been here before? He said, yeah. I said, have you seen anything? He shakes his head, yeah. I said, what are they extraterrestrials? What do they look like? He said, they're pretty hideous looking. I said, did you shoot him or did... No, they never fired at us and we never fired at them. We just got out of there. And this is all like a movie plot.
Right. No,
I'm saying, I'm looking at my agent, and I don't believe any of it. I really seriously don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think there was, my thinking was, there's something else down there that they want to scare us away, form of disinformation that they were trying to pull on us.
Right, that's what I would think.
And I'm saying, you know what? I actually think you guys know what's there. Some kind of secret facility, training facility, or research facility, and you just don't want us to know about it. He said, no, sir. I'm telling you. I said, well, let's go. I want to see these aliens.
All right, next video. Fair use.
Now, billionaires have many obsessions. Supercars, ice baths, exotic animals, you name it, and billionaires usually have it. But of late, they seem to have a new obsession. Bunkers. The top 1% are building bunkers. Mark Zuckerberg is constructing one in Hawaii, and it's worth $270 million. $270 million. It's almost like a status symbol now. But why do the super rich need bunkers? Are they trying to survive a war? Maybe another pandemic? Or an apocalypse? Do they know something that we do not? Our next report tells you.
Blast-resistant doors, equipped with its own food and energy supplies. This is a 5,000 square foot shelter located underground in Hawaii. The price tag of the project is $270 million. If you want to survive an apocalypse, this is the place to be. Who does this belong to? Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. The billionaire is building a bunker, and he isn't the only one. Former PayPal CEO Peter Thiel tried to build one in New Zealand. Bill Gates has plenty of underground security areas, apparently one under each of his homes. Of course, these are the higher end ones, but you could get yourself a basic one for $500,000. It's almost like buying an expensive car. And for billionaires, it's a good way to use some loose change. But where are they building them? Apparently all over the world. But a popular choice seems to be New Zealand. It's attributed to its secluded location, which brings us to the boom in the companies building these survival shelters. Some of them are just basic shelters. They are underground, they have all the essentials, you can survive there for a few weeks. But a handful of them go a step further. Like this one project that includes an island fortress. This is not just a bunker. The entire island is like a fort, with an inflammable moat. Basically, if you try to step foot on the island, it will burn down. But you will be perfectly safe inside the underground bunker. Sounds perfect for a zombie apocalypse. But why are the super rich building bunkers? What are they so scared of? In the last 5 years, the world has survived a lot. A global pandemic, 2 wars, climate change. Some of these bunkers have registered nurses, a collection of drugs, decontamination booths, medical supplies. One even has a full-fledged operating table. Basically, you can survive anything in there. It's almost like modern-day Noah's Ark. If you are in the bunker, you are likely to survive almost all catastrophes. But it's not for everyone. It's only for the chosen few. And here, Noah is not making the choice. The world's super rich are making it for themselves. But beneath all these underground bunkers lies a dark truth. It's that death is truly the great equalizer. And the super rich, just like us, fear it too. They cannot buy their way out of it, even with these underground bunkers and fortresses. But that hasn't stopped them from trying.
Fair use.
And so I thought that that was linked to a lot of ancient texts that I saw that talked about these cyclical catastrophes. And I thought that these catastrophes were linked to this additional gravitational field. So I decided to build this underground shelter system called Fort Terra Nova, which I did. It was on the History Channel in Countdown to Apocalypse years ago, back in 2013, I believe it was. And it can save the lives of 360 people underground. It's about the size of 3 Walmarts. It's not a small place. It's huge.
So, family, just real quick, I want to read a scripture for y'all from. I've read this many times before. If you're a continuous watcher of my channel, you should be familiar with this verse that I'm going to read right now. I've read it in a handful of my videos before, but it's going to be short. Just to show y'all real quick, I'm reading it out of my Sefer Bible, and I'm reading from, well, it's for Ezra, but mostly, if you're looking for it, it's going to be under 2nd Ezra. But I'm reading for Ezra, or 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. Hold on, let me make sure my volume's up. So, here we go. And it came to pass, after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that a man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth fails when it feels the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number, from the 4 winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet dared fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath. And out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude, which were prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Now, actually, let me go right back real quick to the beginning, and then I'm done, family, reading this. Well, I'm not done the video, but done reading. And it came to pass, after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that a man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth fails when it feels the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number, from the 4 winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. So I just wanted you guys to hear that part. To subdue the man that what? Came out of the sea. And also, I want you guys to hold on. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea that moved all the waves thereof. Remember, family, wind represents the Most High, the breath of life. In certain versions of the Bible, and when you read in Genesis, it says that the Most High moved like the wind through the Garden of Eden at midday. The wind represents the breath of life, like Yahuwah, like taking a breath, the breath of life. Remember, the Most High breathed life into the lungs of who? Adam. Now, family, I want to say something real quick. This video, I've been thinking about for a minute if I was going to do it. Because I actually saw this new movie recently in theaters, and it just kind of stood out to me. But, you know, procrastination and thinking, okay, maybe this isn't enough. But then I saw a preview for a new TV show coming out on Apple TV today. And it just, something in me was like, okay, what a coincidence. Let me go ahead and speak what my spirit is telling me was going on. And I've mentioned this before. Matter of fact, I had a video. I don't know if it's still on YouTube. I know it's on my excuse me, family. I know it's on my Rumble. I think I took it off YouTube because they kept YouTube kept taking it down for some reason. So and it was crazy because I don't think I had anything crazy on it, but I called it Emergence Day. And with all these videos you're seeing, there was a recent, they had a congressional hearing with the Senate last year, family, about UAPs, the first one. Well, just in case you didn't know, they had another one this year, second one this year in November. You saw the date on the very first video, that video clip I showed you. I think it said it was November 13th of this year. Or October 13th, my bad. October 13th. Well, no, it's either November 13th or October 13th. It's probably November 13th, I believe. But they're coming out with a lot of information, family, and telling us in the congressional hearings, they're talking about these UAPs or UFOs or these so-called alien craft, these unidentified flying objects or unidentified anomalous phenomena, are the majority of them are being noticed that they're either coming out of the ocean or out of the mountains, or as the lady said in another video, different dimensions. Nobody is saying anything about space anymore. I need you guys to understand this. Understand, and if you haven't heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again, just like when I have this map up right here. Family, one of the biggest lies we've been told is that the earth is a globe spinning at thousands of miles an hour aimlessly through space, nowhere to go, no destination. And, you know, we rotate around the sun. I want you to know, family, that is a lie. Now, you don't have to believe me. I know people have different beliefs, but look, do your own research. As I always say, pray, fast, ask the Most High. Importantly, read the Bible. Use your God-given common sense and wisdom. Really sit down and think about this. And I say this, and I've said this before. Even if the earth isn't FLAT, because I don't want them to put that little sign into my video because I mentioned the earth being FLAT. Even if the earth isn't FLAT, it sure as hell ain't what they've been telling us. It isn't some ball, some globe flying through space like a freaking basketball with water on it and nothing falls off. It's crazy, family. I'm sorry. I know this is what we've been brainwashed to believe growing up, but that's not the truth. Remember, family, I've done videos about space. And when you break down the word space or even the word heavens just means sky. Or think about the word space. Is there not space around you right now in your house? You know, space is any open space, any open area. Space does not mean It is a vacuumless, airless, dark void above the earth. This is how they get you with these words. Space, family, is just space. If I fly 100 miles from where I'm at now and land in a desert somewhere, open, what is that? It's an open space. It's an open, arid area. Dodge the hijack, family. That's what they call space, in my belief, is truly a vast ocean in the ether, or you want to call it ether, or maybe it's spirit, who knows? But it's not what they say it is. So the point of this video, family, I'm trying to give y'all what I feel like the spirit is pointing to me is what we should be looking for, what's going on, what to watch out for. And there's a lot of lies being told to us, a lot of deception, because one of the reasons they want this ball earth, family, is because it goes with their narrative of things. If there's a ball earth flying in a galaxy that never ends, full of trillions of different other galaxies and billions of other and trillions of other planets and suns, right? Then it's easier for them to say you're not special to the Most High. You're not special. You just happened randomly. There was no God, there was no creator that came and created you. So since that's the truth, what they tell you, YOLO, you only live once. So you need to go ahead and live the craziest life you can, drink as much as you can, do as much drugs, sleep with as many people as you can, because you only get what? This one life. And don't worry about so-called God. God isn't real. Do as thou wilt. Do as you want. As long as you're giving me and worshiping me, the almighty government and the almighty dollar, do as you want. And as long as you have enough money, too, you can do what you want. Matter of fact, you might even be able to get close to being one of us if you're able or willing to do enough dirt. If you're willing to sell yourself, sell your soul enough. If you're willing to destroy your soul enough, we might even gift you with a position somewhere near. I mean, you'll never be up here with us, but you can come close. This is the lie that they've been telling us, family. This is what they want you to believe to control your mind, to control your family. Because, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, Republican, Democrat, patriotism, these words, these isms, they're really just religions. They're cults. Being a Republican is a religion and a cult. Being a liberal or a Democrat is a cult. It's a religion. Being a patriot for your country over everything, no matter what your country tells you to do. If your country tells you to go to another country and delete innocent people, it's for the good of the country. Patriotism. Forget them and their families, what they're going through. Your country said go destroy them because they done told you some lie that they said this and did this, when in reality they didn't do nothing. This is all, family, just to keep you into the cult of patriotism and politics. Remember, family, what do they say? The victor writes history. Well, in this case, the richest, most influential people get to decide who's a cult and who isn't. Not realizing, not in the masses, not realizing, as much as people like to be like, oh, so-and-so's in a cult, that's a cult. But bro, you in a cult too. So-called Democrat, so-called Republican, so-called patriot, you're in a cult yourself. You're in a religion called politics. But your religion, in my opinion, is worse than any spiritual religion. Because you worship man. You worship flesh. You worship things that are here today and gone tomorrow. You worship things that are eaten up by moths. But once again, you gotta believe nothing I say, family. Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. With all that getting, get understanding. Trust in the Most High. Most trust in the Most High. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all things trust in the Most High. Here a little, there a little. Fast, pray. Repent, rinse, repeat. The earth, family, is not what they're telling you, and it's for a reason. But let me go ahead and jump back in. So, family, this movie, and I brought this up before, it's called Don't Look Up. And you see where it says based on truly possible events. Family, they put the truth in front of our faces all the time. Based on truly what? Possible events. And this really truly, this reminds me of this whole election with Trump and Kamala right now. And if you've seen the movie, you understand what I'm saying, because in this movie, family, well, one of the main characters, Brad Pitt, and I forget the other girl's name, she was in Hunger Games. But in this movie, some scientists were looking in the sky, and this happened to be around the election season. There was a woman who was president, and now the election year, the new election year is coming up. And I don't believe she was running for president again, but it was her son who was running for president this time. But nonetheless, she was backed by him because she was just president and people liked her and trusted in her. But while these scientists, played by Brad Pitt and this other female woman I was telling you about, I forget her name, as they're looking in the sky, they noticed that an asteroid was headed towards Earth. And they went to the government and they tried to tell the government, hey, we know there's an election and everything going on, but there's something very important going on, something drastic, something devastating. There's literally an asteroid headed towards Earth, and we believe it's going to hit Earth, and it's going to delete everyone. Everyone's going to be destroyed. It's the end of Earth as we know it. Destruction. Complete destruction of the entire surface of the Earth. So we need to stop worrying about this election and all this doesn't matter. And we need to figure out a way to save the Earth, save the people. We need to warn the people of the Earth that this is happening, get everyone ready. And the woman who was president at the time sat there and told Brad Pitt and his colleague, the other scientist, that this is not the right time because there's an election going on right now. There'll be mass panic. People won't be able to handle this information. So let's go ahead and keep this under wraps. Keep this quiet until after the election. Make a long story short, I think the scientists went with it at first, but then they went ahead and decided, no, let's go ahead and put the truth out there. But the people were so engaged in this election that they didn't believe the scientists. Did you have people coming out saying, they're lying, there's not a meteor coming to hit the Earth. This is just a lie to trick people, to take people's attention away from the election, because what's most important right now is who's going to be the next president of the United States. Doesn't that sound familiar like today? Like Trump and the Kamala, what was going on, all this craziness around the Trump and Kamala election. Everyone's so just focused on this election as if there's not other things going on in the world. Like there's not more important things other than the next master that is going to be put over you. So, at the end of the day, at the end of this movie, the people ignore the scientists and they only want to pay attention to the election. And at the end of the day, the woman's son, who is the current president, ends up being elected as the new president. But guess what? At this point, it doesn't matter anymore. No one cares because it turns out, guess what? There was an asteroid headed to Earth. And now everyone's about to delete it. And all the rich, you know what all the rich people did? The woman who was president, all the rich people, when she left her son, they all got on a spaceship built by this billionaire in the movie, aka Elon Musk, representation of Elon Musk. They got on this spaceship, took off, and left everybody on Earth to be deleted by the asteroid while they flew to a new planet to repopulate it. And that's the premise of the movie Don't Look Up. So, but the reason I'm telling you and bring this movie up again, just in case you've forgotten the last time I explained it, because this is an allegory for what's going on in the world today, family. The enemy or the principalities that rule in the darkness, the evil princes and kings and queens and princesses, or the so-called elites, are basically tricking you. They want you to be focused on these fake moon landings or these fake space programs built up by NASA and Elon Musk. And also India just so-called landed on the moon recently, and I wonder if anybody saw India when they supposedly landed on the moon. I think this year or last year, and you saw their Super Nintendo set up in their mission control. They didn't even have a live video footage, family. It looked like a freaking Super Nintendo game screen in India's version of NASA. It was crazy, family. And then some of y'all saw that video where it says that Elon Musk took some rich people, obviously some rich people with money that you can obviously trust, because you know rich people are trustworthy. That he took a group of them, and I think he said Richard Branson was one of them. I could be lying about that, but I think maybe he said Richard Branson went on this trip. But it showed these people on a SpaceX ship going into space, and then apparently opening up the hatch to the spaceship and then floating out of it for a second, just sticking their heads out. Man, that was some of the worst CGI AI I've ever seen in my life, man. I've seen better CGI on freaking video games. And people just follow this stuff just so easily, as if they can't be deceived, as if they can't be lied to. It's crazy, family. But anyway, so the movie Don't Look Up is an allegory for today. The government and the elites, all these superstars, all these people who got all the money, the top people, they want you to pay attention to so-called space. This empty vacuum, this empty airless vacuum above our heads, right? But why do they want you focused there? Just like, see, remember in the movie, they wanted them focused on the election while there was an asteroid coming. But we gonna kind of turn that upside down and apply it to today. They want you focusing on space. They want you focusing up in the sky, so you don't focus where? Beneath your feet. So you don't focus on what's going on the ground around you. And now I'm going to show you some clips. Well, some not clips, went through the clips, but some screenshots, family, from TV shows. And I'm going to explain to you what they're about and what's going on, what they're hiding from you. Because what did they say in these clips? They're saying that the aliens or the extraterrestrials are where? They're coming out of the oceans, they're coming out of mountains, or from different dimensions. And matter of fact, I want to say this real quick, family. And think about this. Think about you as a human being and the capabilities of your body. If you looked up in the sky, family, and you saw a spaceship, or what you consider to be a spaceship, but nonetheless a ship in the sky, and you think to yourself, oh, it's an alien spaceship. It came from space. Ask yourself, with your naked eyes, if that spaceship really did come from space, and you can even keep in mind the space shuttle launches that, you know, instead of going straight up, they like to veer off to the left and right. But anyway, with the naked eye, would you actually be able to tell, even if you saw the ship ascending from the sky, would you actually with your naked eye be able to tell that it actually literally came from space? Or would you only be able to tell that it was descending to the earth from the point of view your eyes were finally able to make sense of what you were seeing, until your eyes were able to see it? Because family, your eyes aren't able to see that far up into space. So the first thought is, a wise person who truly believes in the scientific method, who truly believes in what you can see, feel, taste, and touch with your own eyes, then you should have the common sense and wisdom to see that even though I see this ship descending out of the sky, I didn't actually see it come from so-called space, because I cannot myself see up that high. So ask yourself, did it maybe come from a portal? Was it maybe cloaked in the clouds and it decloaked? In other words, it was invisible and then it flipped a switch and now it's visible? Or did it do like the shuttles that take off from NASA, and instead of them flying up straight into the sky, all of a sudden they want to veer to the left or right? Did it come from the left or the right? You don't know. But you cannot say for sure it came from space because you weren't actually literally there to see it come from space. Now let's say the ship lands. And what walks out of this ship? Let's say it's a 7-foot tall creature with 3 arms and 3 legs. And it's got scales and green skin. And this creature looks at you in English and says, I'm from space. Would a wise person just believe them? Now look, I'll put it like this. If a weird alien or a creature comes for me and says they're from space, I'm most going to be apt to believe them because, I mean, I don't know you, you don't know me, you're a creature. I'm already amazed enough that it's happening, so why would you lie to me? But another part with me, a wise part, would say to myself, well, I don't know this creature. And obviously they're intelligent enough to where they can make advanced technology. So they're more intelligent than us. So I'm pretty sure they know the concept of lying or deceiving people. Or what's the word when you, it's not necessarily, I guess in some ways you could say it's not lying, but you don't divulge certain truths. You withhold information. And if the person doesn't ask, then I didn't lie, you just didn't ask. Or they say it in a slick way to where you don't really catch on what's going on. But the wise me would say, you know what? I'm talking to you and I'm not going to call you a liar. So until proven otherwise, okay, you came from space. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? Not only did I not necessarily see that the ship came from space because I can't tell that with my natural eye. It just happened out of nowhere. So since I can't necessarily truly prove you came from space, I really don't know if you truly are a creature from space. Maybe you came from the ocean. Maybe you came from the center of the earth or hollow earth underneath the ground. I don't know. I only have your word to tell me and I don't know. I don't really know you. I just met you. You could be some creature trying to, lie to me, whatever, right? But anyway, I digress. So let's go ahead and I want to just throw that out there, fam. Just think with your common sense. Game of Thrones. Famous show. Well, popular show, right? I like it. A lot of people like it. I've watched it. I enjoyed it. Although it's questionable, but nonetheless, it's a good show in my opinion. And it's got a lot of interesting stuff in it too, if you ask me. So Game of Thrones. What's one of the famous characters of Game of Thrones? The what? The Ice King. And his what? His dragon. His reptilian creature that he rides on the back of. And where does the Ice King and his dragon come from? His ice dragon come from in Game of Thrones? They come from beyond the what? The ice wall. There's this great tall wall in the Game of Thrones universe that protects the 7 king, I believe it's the 7 kingdoms, from this arid wasteland in the great north. And these creatures in the show, like zombies, live in this wasteland until one day they come to the ice wall and they cross the ice wall and invade the lands of the humans, aka Antarctica. Monsters coming from over the ice wall to invade the earth or invade the lands of the known lands of human beings. So I hope y'all got that. If y'all familiar with Game of Thrones, y'all should know what I'm talking about. These monsters came over the great ice wall in Game of Thrones to invade the 7 kingdoms and try to delete everybody. And they were led by a being called the Ice King, who rode on the back of what? A dragon, a monster. Now let's keep going. Now this is what really got me today. Decided to do this video because I was like, what a coincidence. This random show coming out. This new show coming out on Apple TV. It's called The Gorge. And for what I've seen from the preview, well, first off, look at this hand. And now that I'm looking at it, apparently this hand has some type of feathers on it. It's some type of reptilian, most likely, what it seems like in the previews, and especially with a lot of the theme of a lot of movies lately, what the creatures are. It seems like some type of creature that is reptilian in nature, scales, sharp teeth, dinosaur-like, but probably walks on 4 legs like a dog. And in this show, from what I've seen from the preview, The Gorge, it's about this Okay, family, you ever heard of I know you guys ever, well, most of you probably heard about it, learned about it at school growing up. The Mariana Trench in the ocean, and how it's one of the deepest places in the ocean, and we haven't explored it all. And then if you've seen the new Godzilla TV show and movies, they talk about the monsters in the new Godzilla show. I think it's called Monarch. They're saying that some of these monsters are actually coming out of the Mariana Trench. Matter of fact, the movie Pacific Rim, monsters are coming out of what? The Mariana Trench. There's the movie Cloverfield. In the movie Cloverfield, there's a belief that there's monsters, that these monsters in Cloverfield came out of the Mariana Trench, but also that aliens also came out of the ocean in Cloverfield. Look it up. Look up the lore behind Cloverfield. Yeah, they say aliens from space, but they also talk about them coming from the ocean. And matter of fact, before the monster in Cloverfield goes into New York, it crashes into what? The ocean, and then it emerges from the ocean. So just because it didn't start in the ocean, if you understand what I'm talking about, the hijack, the allegory is at the end of the day, the monster didn't attack people until it came out of the ocean. Once again, going back to the UFO, the UAP congressional hearing, the UAPs are coming out of what? The oceans. They're coming out of the mountains or different dimensions. So anyway, the gorge is about these two towers, but instead, okay, like I said, the Mariana Trench, but imagine the Mariana Trench on dry ground somewhere in the middle of the wilderness that none of us knows about. So opposing governments, what they do is they put two towers on each opposing side of this gorge, of this deep gorge, or almost like the Grand Canyon, of this canyon. And at the bottom of this canyon is all this smoke, so you can't see the bottom. You can't see what's coming. It's fog. So in these two towers, they put one individual in each tower, and their job is to keep watch over the gorge. And the governments give them all types of weapons, heavy machinery, heavy machine guns, and explosives, and all type of weapons to help them stop whatever creatures are trying to come out of the gorge. It's almost like, you know how a park ranger, they have those tall towers, the fire towers, where they sleep in sometimes. They're suspended high up in the air so they can look over the forest. So if there's any fires, they can send signals to the fire department, the hot shots, so they can come out and stop forest fires and stuff. Early fire warning system type with the park rangers. Well, this is basically the premise of the show. These secret agents or assassins are basically like park rangers sitting in these towers watching over the gorge, and their orders are to destroy whatever comes out of the gorge. But they themselves, from the preview, they don't know what's in the gorge, because no one in the earth other than higher up officials and secret organizations knows of the existence of this gorge. No one in the earth knows about this gorge. It's kept secret. And so these people, these assassins who they're hired, or ex-soldiers, ex-snipers, don't know themselves that this place exists. One day they're just approached by government officials and they say, look, we got another job for you. And they send them to these towers and they say, look, there's another tower, another person, you're not allowed to talk to them. Your only job is to sit here for a year and to make sure you destroy anything that tries to come out of this gorge. And what are they destroying? Monsters, right? And this is just another image of the show, one of the posters of the gorge. These are the two spies, or the two snipers I was telling you about. And these are the two towers that their governments told them that they need to sit in for the next year to keep watch over this gorge, to make sure they destroy whatever tries to ascend outside of the gorge. AKA the Mariana Trench, or AKA maybe there's some place in the world right now that really like this, they're not telling us. But nonetheless, the point is there's creatures coming up out of this gorge, or in another way, coming up out of the ground, that people have to keep watch of to make sure they don't get into the world and go around and hurt people. Here's another show, another new show called what? The Silo. And once again, family, let me say that y'all saw the video I showed you of Reuters and of Billy Carson, the two clips. And what are rich people doing? They're making bunkers, right? Remember, once again, the movie I told you about, bringing up Don't Look Up. So they don't want us to look up. But here's the thing. In today's world, family, like unlike in the movie Don't Look Up, they didn't want you to pay attention to space because they didn't want people to know that there's an asteroid coming because they want people to focus on the election. Well, let's use it in the real world. They want us to be focused on space and SpaceX with Elon Musk and NASA and all these things they're trying to do. And what do they say? What did that lady say? That only about 5% of our ocean is explored, and that we know more about space than we do about our own oceans, that we haven't explored all the way. So my point is, family, the enemy, the elites want you to be paying attention to space and going to Mars and going to the moon and so-called aliens coming from space, while they sitting here building billions of dollars worth of bunkers all over the earth, hundreds of miles of tunnels. But they want you focused on what? Space. But if Elon Musk is making spaceships, don't you think that they would be building spaceships to leave, to go to another planet if something was coming? But no. They're not building spaceships to go to another planet. They're building bunkers. So in other words, family, what do they, like the lady said, what do they know that we don't know? Doesn't the Bible say that the enemy in the last days will run under the ground, but the Most High will cause the mountains to fall upon them? Remember that Bible verse, family, where it says the enemy will run underground, or they'll build secret bases underground or under mountains, but the Most High will cause the mountains to fall upon them? This is scripture come to life right here, family. And there's another show on the Apple channel called Silo, about rich people in the past who built all these bunkers because there was some type of either war or a catastrophic event with the environment. Something happened that they don't say, but that they don't explain in the show. But something happened to where people had to make the choice to live underground for hundreds of years until the surface of the earth was habitable again. Because in the show, the surface of the earth is not habitable. It's poisonous. So they've got thousands of people living underground, and the show is about how the people are basically, how we live today underneath the rule of rich people and elites is how these people are living underground now, under the rule of elites, in these small silos, in these underground bunkers. It's a pretty cool show. I like it. But let's keep going. Here's another image. This is a picture of the show Silo. This is what the inside of the silo, this is where all the people live. And these silos apparently go down about 120 or 140 levels. And each silo has about 10,000 people living in it. And they have farms inside of it, all their water. Everything they need is, everything to stay alive that they need to survive is inside of these silos. So what is this show trying to tell us? This show, I think, first came out last year. It's on season 2 right now. So what are they trying to tell us, fam? Remember, they put the truth in these TV shows. But you just have the wisdom, and now you just have to have the wisdom and knowledge to look for it, right? Hold on real quick, fam. I gotta grab something. Okay, so like I said, bunkers. They're building bunkers. What are they trying to tell us? Let's go to the next show. Now here's a popular video game that's been out since, shoot, I can't remember, but I think this game first came out when I was in middle school, and they've made multiple games. This is the newest installation of this game. Matter of fact, this hasn't come out yet. I think this comes out in 2025 sometime. But why? And this game takes place before all the other games. Like, this is like a prequel. You know how they did Star Wars, family? They did episode 4, 5, and 6, and then years and years later they did episode 1, 2, 3. So basically, this is what this new game is off the Gears of War franchise. This game is supposed to be based on what they call E-Day or Emergence Day, when the monsters, or what they call the I forget what they're called, the locusts. They're called the locusts. When they first appeared out of the ground and started deleting people. And matter of fact, you know something interesting about this game, family, is the people found out that the locusts were actually man-made. And that, well, actually there were creatures already in the ground, but people did something to manipulate their DNA to where they became intelligent, and they built their own civilization underground, but they ended up having to come up out of the ground because they didn't have enough resources. So they invaded the surface world and started deleting. They almost caused the extinction of mankind. So this game is called Gears of War E-Day. E standing for Emergence Day, when the monsters just came out of the ground and started attacking mankind. And here's an image of it. Here's one of the monsters. Here's two of them. And there's some other, and if you're familiar with the game, you know there's other creatures, but this is just two of the creatures from the game. If you want to look more into it, just go look up Gears of War, and you'll be able to, if you're not familiar with it, you'll be able to see some of the different creatures. But once again, a very popular game. Like, I'm talking, like, if you're familiar with Halo, just as popular as Halo. Like, this is one of them games that's so, a lot of people know about this. A lot of people grew up on this game. And it's about monsters emerging from the ground. Now here's another new movie that came out this year with Nicolas Cage. Remember Nicolas Cage was in that movie Numbers? And does this have something to do with it? No, this movie doesn't have anything to do with Numbers, but I'm just saying it's just interesting because Numbers is a very prophetic movie in itself. But this movie called Arcadia is about, Arcadian is about how one day something happened on the earth where I think, from my understanding, it was a sickness. And I think maybe the sickness came about because people started taking immunizations. And these immunizations, it's kind of like, remember I Am Legend with Will Smith? And remember what started the pandemic? Remember what started the pandemic on I Am Legend is when Will Smith's, no, not Will Smith's character, but the lady on I Am Legend came up with this new vaccine that can heal all cancer. But the side effects is it turned the majority of the world's population into monsters. Well, basically, from my understanding, that's the backdrop of the Arcadian movie. And whatever these people took caused them to change into monsters. And do you know where these monsters lived at night? Or how they got into people's houses? You know, after they pretty much overran the whole world, and I'm talking about the survivors that are left. Do you know where these monsters lived during the day and how they got inside of people's houses? They lived in the ground, family. And at night, they would pop up through the floors of people's houses. They would dig up through people's houses, through their floorboards, and they go in and they would delete the people inside the house. They would eat them or do whatever they do with them. So once again, another movie about monsters at the end of the world who were coming out of what? The ground. Regardless of how they started, the theme is they came out of the ground. And this came out this year. And this is what the monsters look like in Arcadian. This is what they look like. I mean, as a drawing, they look just like a regular drawing. But anyway, go watch the movie. It was okay. I'd say it was an interesting movie. It wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't a bad movie. It was worth a watch, I guess. It's one of those movies where if I watched it, I'm like, well, it wasn't the worst movie, but I don't feel like I wasted an hour and a half of my life. I was like, okay, it was interesting. It was cool to watch, pass some time. Anyway. Now, then there's another movie that came out this year. It's called Azrael, Angel of Death. And in this movie, they don't exactly say what happened, but another pandemic, something crazy on the earth. And I think the people turned into monsters. It doesn't say how it happened, but the majority of the people on the earth, if they weren't deleted or die off, a large swath of them turned into these creatures. And you know what happened after they turned into these creatures? You know where they lived? They lived in the ground. They moved underground. And at night, or if you're too loud and during the day, if you make too much noise, because in the movie, the people have to be silent because the creatures are attracted to sound. Almost like the movie, The Quiet Place. But when these creatures come for you, do you know where they come out of? They come out of the ground. They live in the ground. And if you make too much noise, they do what? They come out of the ground and they come and eat you. And they take you down into their tunnels where they eat you. So another movie where the theme is what? Monsters coming out of the ground. Now let's go to another movie. This apparently is coming out this year as well. Well, to 2025, or maybe it already came out. But it's called Werewolves, and apparently, some sickness or something, some plague goes across the earth that causes the majority of Earth's population to turn into what? Werewolves. And now werewolves are just running around in the millions and billions, going around eating people and deleting people. And this goes with the theme that I told you earlier. It goes with creatures that come out in the darkness, but also what? Live in the ground, and they happen to look like what? Dog-like creatures. Maybe we're even going with the theme of a hellhound, right? Hellhounds from what? Hell. But nonetheless, there's just been this recent, as of these past few years, and especially this year, just this, in these past couple years, and even this year, just this theme of aliens and stuff that walk like dogs, move like dogs, walk on four legs. And matter of fact, also that movie with Will Smith that he did with his son Willow Smith, where they called themselves Space Rangers. I forget what it was called. They went to another planet. That's almost like the same theme, kind of. Whereas a creature that walked on four legs, and you know, they go around trying to exterminate and delete people, right? But anyway, this movie Werewolves, and this is the werewolf. Obviously, you see in the picture. So the theme, dog-like creatures. All right, here's another movie. This one caught my eye. I saw this recently. This came out recently. So in this movie called Elevation, it's about these creatures that one day just show up on Earth. They say they came from space, but they do what? They burrow in the ground. But actually what happens is, it's what basically, it's almost, if you ever seen the movie, I'm trying to tell you, but basically, look, no, they didn't know these creatures came from space at first. They apparently showed up one day. They started coming up out of the ground. Like I told you on Gears of War E-Day, they started, these creatures just started popping up out of the ground. And they destroyed most of the world's population. And this is the creature. This is what they look like. Like dog-like creatures that walk on two legs or whatever. Matter of fact, this isn't the creature. This is, I don't know what movie this is. But anyway, these creatures on this movie, the best way to describe them is alien dog-like creatures. And they first started appearing out of the ground. Matter of fact, as you watch the movie, as the characters are going through the movie, you start seeing craters in the ground. Not because they came from the sky, but I'm talking about the craters where they dug themselves out of the ground to the surface and started attacking people. But later on at the end of the movie, you find out that the creatures are actually sent here by aliens. But the aliens, I guess the aliens maybe buried them in the past, or I don't know how the aliens got them in the ground. But apparently the aliens would get inside of the creatures. Well, you know what? No, let me take this back. At the movie, it was found out that there was actually aliens coming to Earth, and that these creatures came from aliens because at first they thought the creatures were actually living beings. But when they were finally able to destroy one, they realized that they weren't actually organic creatures. They were machines. And then they realized that these machines came from space. But nonetheless, before the aliens showed up at the beginning of the movie, the creatures came from under what? The ground. Where did they come from? And remember I said before, family, when I gave you the little thought, that if you saw a spaceship coming from the sky, are you really sure that it came from space? Because you cannot literally see visually with your naked eye. You cannot see this ship literally coming down from space all the way to you. Unless it's like bright as hell. You cannot literally see this ship descending from space with the naked eye. You can't. So even with this in the movie, I want to use that I want to say the same thing. How do you know it came from space if you did not see it come from space? But in the movie, once again, these creatures came up from the ground. All right, let's go to the next. I already showed you that. Okay, this new movie, new TV show that came out on Amazon. It's called Fallout. You know what Fallout is about? Fallout, and you see she got the number 33 on her back. Freemasons, that number 33. 3 has to do a lot with Ascended Masters and Freemasons and things like that. It's there for a reason. And the movie's called Fallout. You know what Fallout is about, family? Fallout is about, there was a nuclear war that came. And the rich people got together and built what? A bunch of bunkers and silos to put their families in to live under for a few hundred years until it's safe for them to do what? Come on the surface when the surface of the earth has been replenished and they can repopulate the surface. So, and some of y'all are probably familiar, this was actually a popular video game too that they turned into a TV show, came out this year. But once again, why did this TV show decide to come out this year? Why was this video game made? And what is it about again? It's about rich people. The game starts off as rich people who live in fallout shelters or bunkers or silos underneath the ground to be protected from a nuclear war. And they live under the ground for hundreds of years until they're able to come back on the surface when the radiation and stuff is gone and they can repopulate the surface. So that's what the show Fallout is about. There's a certain theme going on here, family. Now let's go to another movie. Do you guys remember this movie, War of the Worlds? If you've seen it, you've probably seen it. It's a pretty good movie. I like it. With Tom Cruise, obviously. If you remember, where did the aliens come in the beginning of War of the Worlds? Remember, where did they come from? They came out, they emerged out of the what? The ground in what? Tripod alien-like machines. In the beginning of War of the Worlds, where did the aliens come out of, family? They came out of the ground. And later on in the movie, they show that the aliens transported down in some type of energy streams during a thunderstorm. That's how they enter the ships. But nonetheless, apparently the theory in the movie was that the aliens buried those ships underneath the ground before civilization was even built hundreds of years ago, which is how they ended up coming out of the ground randomly and no one knew they were there. So, once again, the theme is aliens or monsters coming out of what? The ground. And matter of fact, in this scene, if you've seen the movie War of the Worlds, family, in this scene right here, the people were trying to escape the alien tripods that were deleting everybody. And you know where this tripod came out of nowhere, family? It emerged out of what? The ocean, out of nowhere. They were crossing the water, and all of a sudden, this tripod just emerges out of the water. What was it doing in the water? Who put it in the water? How did it get there? But it came out of where? The water. There's a theme here, family, and that's of creatures emerging out of what? The ground, the mountains, and the oceans, not space. Okay, here's the scene in War of the Worlds where this is the scene where the monster, you see all the smoke and the dust right here. This is the scene where the monster first emerged out of the ground in the middle of town. Matter of fact, there was asphalt on the ground. They had built a road over and everything. So no one expected it to be there because the monster or the tripod, the alien, so-called alien ship, just emerged out of the ground, family. Let's go to the next scene. And then there's this movie. What? The Tomorrow War. And if you've seen this movie, this is about a war where some people come back they come back from the future and to tell us today that there are descendants and that they're fighting a war where the world's population is about to be extinct. And what do the monsters look like on this show that the people are fighting? They look like this. Creatures that walk like freaking dogs, or they look like reptile-like creatures that eat people and do stuff like that. But you know where these creatures came from in this show, family? They say they're aliens that came from space. But the attack didn't come from space. What they say is hundreds or thousands of years ago, apparently some spaceship crash landed in the northern part of Russia. And family, if you look at a map, where's the northern part of Russia? In the north. Up near what? The North Pole. And what do they say is in the North Pole? Hollow earth. What, family? The center. What's hollow earth? It's the center of the earth. Apparently there's, what they say is there's a big hole up there. If you're familiar with Admiral Byrd and his expeditions, they said he flew up there and they found a big hole. Admiral Byrd, he was a Navy admiral, U.S. Navy admiral, and they said he flew up to the top of the earth in the north, and there was a big hole at the top of the earth in the north, and he could, as a matter of fact, it was so big he could fly his plane into it, and as he flew his plane into it, he emerged into a different world where there were so-called aliens or beings that had been there for hundreds or thousands of years, living right underneath the earth, beneath our feet, and we didn't know it. And what's one of the main entrances to get there? Flying up north through hollow earth. And in this movie, Tomorrow's War, these aliens, apparently their ship crashed in northern Russia, and it was frozen under ice for hundreds or thousands of years until one day the ice thawed out and the aliens escaped and got out. And that's where they started attacking the world. From Russia, from the snow up north. But nonetheless, understand, family, the theme is, even though they said they came from space, understand these monsters emerged from what? The ice. They were buried under the ice first for hundreds of thousands of years before they finally came out and started invading the earth and killing people. So they came from what? They emerged from what? Underground, family. Look at the theme. What are they trying to say? Remember, dodge the hijack. Remember, don't look up. They want you to think they came from space, but they really came from underground. Let's go to the next one. Oh, okay, well, that was it, family. That's it of these clips. But nonetheless, family, the theme that I'm trying to tell you guys about is they want you to believe in this space stuff. They want you to believe the earth is a sphere, that there's aliens traveling through space to come attack us. When in reality, family, what I truly believe, what the Spirit is telling me, what you should be looking out for is what's underneath your feet and what's in the ocean and what's coming from Antarctica, what's coming from beyond the ice wall. Family, this is what they don't want you to know. And I also want to say something else. I know people talk about Project Bluebeam. Remember, I showed you guys, family, a clip in one of my past videos. Is a good time ago, some months back. But it's a scene from the movie, I forget which one, but it's Resident Evil, but I forget which one. I think it might have been the second to last Resident Evil movie. And the heads of the Umbrella Corporation, or the executives, were sitting in a boardroom meeting. And they were in the meeting, or conversation was on how they were talking about, since the beginning of time, the Bible has talked about the end of days, the end of the world, the end of man. And so the Umbrella Corporation, because they want to be in charge and control everything, they decided, we're going to bring the end of the world in on our own terms. We're going to force the world to come to an end. And so what I'm saying, family, when it comes to this Project Bluebeam, I'm not saying, as they said, the government doesn't have certain technologies that they've gotten from other beings. And I'm not saying that they're not trying to fool you, even as it says in Revelations. Even the elect will be fooled. So I'm not saying the government won't have their own so-called UFOs, and I'm not saying that they won't try to make it seem like it's the end of the world in their own terms, or make it seem like it's an alien invasion when it's really them. But what I am trying to tell you, I'm not saying that do that, is don't let that belief of Project Bluebeam, don't let that make you forget about or cut out the Most High and the Most High's forces. Like, what was it? What did I read you in the book of Ezra? It said the man came out of the ocean with thousands, right? Hold on, what did it say? It said, and I beheld, and lo, that a man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And where did this man come from? Out of the sea. Atlantis, Antarctica, wherever he came from. Secret bases under the ocean, secret civilizations on the ocean. You can look it up. People talk about beings living in the ocean. My point is, family, the enemy might try, like Project Bluebeam, the enemy might know, family, that the Most High is coming for his people. That the Most High is coming for the second Exodus beyond the ice wall, from underneath the ocean, from underneath the ground, from hollow earth, to come get his people for the second, excuse me, family, I apologize, to come get his people for the second Exodus. And the enemy might be trying to hijack that thing, to hijack the second Exodus by putting forth their own made up alien invasion first. Matter of fact, family, I want you guys, there's this, hold on, let me see if I can bring it up real quick. And I brought it up before on a video before, but I'm a force. Oh, did it come up on the screen? It's called. It's this video game from back in the day on PlayStation, back when PlayStation first came out. It's called Area 51. Hold on. Let me see if I show y'all. Hold on. And some of y'all, some of the gentlemen, y'all might be familiar with this game. But this game right here, family, came out, like I said, during PS1 days. And basically what this game, actually no, not this game. Okay, I apologize. It's another game, family. I forget what it was called. Oh no, here it is right here. It's called Black Site, Area 51. This is the game right here. And okay, no, it was on PlayStation 3. But basically, family, what this game was about, Black Site, is about how these soldiers, these special forces soldiers, are given a mission to go out to somewhere in Nevada. And when they get there, they see these creatures that look like aliens. And they think at first there's aliens invading the earth. But as you go through the game, you realize these creatures aren't really aliens. What they are is soldiers who have been, what's the word, where the government tampered with their DNA. And they're soldiers wearing alien-like suits, and they're also soldiers whose DNA has been tampered with, like super soldiers. But at first the people thought they're aliens, but they're really people who have been tested on with experiments. So Black Site Area 51, if anybody's familiar with this game, like I said, family, it's like, I guess, another version of Project Bluebeam. Or maybe a prophecy, or basically them telling us what's to come in the future, the near future. So I'm just bringing this back up to you guys, family. You can go look at the I'm pretty sure you can find the trailer on YouTube. I don't want to do it right now because I don't want my video to get flagged for using someone else's what's it called, video. But look it up. The game is called Black Site Area 51, and it's about the government doing a fake alien invasion. But once again, like I said, family, this whole space stuff and stuff like that, family, I'm telling y'all, look, you don't have to take my word for it, but I know for myself, it's fake. The earth is not what they say it is. And I'm just letting you know, they're letting us know, family, what's about to happen. Whatever creatures, whenever the Most High comes, whenever Yahusha comes, wherever the Exodus is coming, understand, it's not coming from so-called space. Space is not real. It's the ocean. What does the Bible say? The firmament separates the waters from above from the waters below. It's a vast etheric ocean out there, family. Or it might just be spirit, family. Look, it might be like, I was thinking about it earlier, that maybe there's a certain point where we can't go any further. Let's say we had a ship. And the reason we can't go further, because it's almost like, how can I say, let's say you're a program in a computer. Let's say you got a laptop and you're a program living in your laptop. You can only go, and let's say this laptop isn't connected to the internet, right? It's just a standalone laptop without connection to the internet. And let's say you're an NPC in this computer, or you're a program, and one day you become self-aware and you want to escape, only to realize that you literally can't escape because you're digital. You're made of digital hardware. So you literally could not leave the computer if you wanted to. You would cease to exist if you could. So maybe that's where we are, really. I believe yes, This is a vast womb that we live in with many different lands. But at some point, either the darkness is actual ocean and you can't get past the wall, or it's like you being a computer program trapped in a computer. You literally couldn't escape if you wanted to. And if you did escape, you would cease to exist. Because the only thing outside of the computer is the creator itself, is the essence, like I tell you, the darkness. There is nowhere to go outside of the computer. So your only choice is to stay within the womb where life is real. But anyway, family, this is it. This is all I wanted to share with y'all. I hope y'all see what I was trying to show y'all. I hope y'all see the theme that's going on in the world right now with all these movies and TV shows, with the UAP congressional hearings and what they're really saying about these ships and how they're not coming from space but different dimensions from the ocean and underneath the ground and mountains. But anyway, family, I think I done said enough. I think I didn't explain myself well enough. So without further ado, I am a healthy, wise, strong, protected, celestial being that is loved by the Most High Creator. Thank you for joining me, family. Thank you for listening. Shalom.